I are a cowboy. What'd I tell you? I are a cowboy and he ain't no more, right? Yes, this looks like a cowboy gun. It is, even though it's a little bit of a wimpy cowboy gun. It's in .22 long rifle right now. It's a Colt Frontier Scout we're going to talk about. I grew up a cowboy. I still am a cowboy, and I don't have to tell you that, do I? Now, I'm going to treat this just like my Colt Single Action Army. It is a Colt Single Action. It's the Frontier Scout. Got the old box. This one was made in '68. Half cock, and that's how you get the cases out. Because you want to reload these 22s, right? You want to save your cases. That was pretty funny. Someone probably does reload them. So yeah, it operates just like an old Colt Single Action, or even the very first Ruger Single Actions. You go to half cock, and then the cylinder will turn, and you can, work the ejector and get the cases out. And that's why, again, if you're at the range, how many times am I going to have to explain this, I guess? But you can load 6 in these, of course, and pick them up and fire them. Many of us have done cowboy action shooting, and we even carry these things around, maybe our property, or maybe you carry one of these for self-defense. I don't know, but it's not as wise to carry it with 6 in it with the hammer down on a live round. And so we just stay in the habit of loading fire. Sometimes people come up with this idea. They tell me even that they let the hammer down. They let the hammer down between cases? Ah, man, and you can do that with some of the percussion guns or maybe some of the other brands. I'm not going to do that with a Colt. There's no notch there, and you're really, screwing up the action. I just don't do that. I just load fire. So enough on that. So yeah, this is the Colt Frontier. You may not have been aware of this firearm. I have seen them, gun shows. I have relatives that have one or two, I know, and I've been tempted on them many times. They came in a lot of variations. This is, as I said, 68. The first ones came out in 57. It was 1957, not 2057. Okay, 1957. And the first ones were kind of a two-tone, a duotone as they called it. They had an aluminum alloy frame, like this one does more or less, but they were not black. So if you see a picture of one, to me they're a little odd looking. Maybe not to you. And I think Ruger made one kind of like that in 55. It was an aluminum alloy frame, and it had the two-tone going, with it too. But I like this better, and we just came a little bit later. And it's 22. That's the big thing, okay? It's the little bitty brother of the Colt Single Action and these big 45 cartridges, right? You see the difference? Let's open up in case you didn't notice. You see the the chamber on this one, okay, for new shooters. It's a little bit smaller than what cowboys carried or the soldiers carried back in 1873 and 4 and on up to 1890s, okay, and even after, right? So this one's chambered in 22. It's a smaller, also, configuration of it. It's not dramatically, but it is smaller. I forget the percentage, but like 75% or something. And I think most of them were in like 4 5/8 or something, 4.5 inch barrel. And they appear to be a little bit longer. They appear to be like this one because the ejector rod housing doesn't go all the way out as it does on the 4 3/4 Colt. Well, actually the barrel stops here. The ejection housing is the same length. It's just the barrel's cut off on the 4 3/4. And since this one extends also, it kind of has that look, doesn't it? So it looks like a cowboy gun, like your favorite cowboys used. Colt quit making the single action. They started in 1873. And then during World War II, there were other firearms that needed to be, focused on. And so they didn't make this, they quit making the single action up through the 40s. And then in the 50s, they started up again, but it really wasn't without some pressure. It was the Western movies and people falling in love with the Western movies and TV series. You had Gunsmoke and all those, Rifleman, a lot of those series that came about. And people were wanting single action revolvers like the Cowboys carried. And guess who was first with the mostest was Ruger. That's when they started making the Black Hawk And I think in 45 was the first one, or 357, 30, I don't know. But they came out, I forget now my history on that, but they came out early, like early 50s or 1950 with the Black Hawk. And then they came out with the single 6, which was a 22 Cowboy gun, peacemaker type firearm. That was in 53, I think, okay? And of course, everybody loved them because everybody, even then, couldn't afford to shoot 45 Colt or big cartridges and didn't even want to necessarily. 22 has always been very popular. And so we had Ruger with the single 6. And I don't own one. You've seen one here. My buddy, I think we've done his too. Maybe I'll get it back and compare. But so then that put the pressure on Colt. So they came out with one, 57. All right, somebody had to have one to shoot 10 cans like that. That old propane tank. Did I miss it? Yeah, I did. How'd I do that? How about this 2-liter? How about stop sign? Click. All right, so, you know, again, they're single action. The negative, the downside of a single action revolver like this, of any caliber, is you get 5 or 6 shots usually, okay? There are a few in various configurations you can find that may hold a couple more, but they're 6 shooters, you know, or 5 shooters. And the lure, the attraction is what? It's the design, you know, the simplicity of it, the history, the movies, and just everything. Everybody wants to be a cowboy sometime in his or her life, right? Cowgirl, right? Cow person. And this lets you do it. I'll load it up again here with 22s, then I might switch the cylinder on you and shoot something a little more powerful. Now, let's see, what else did you want to know about these? I think they sold, you know, like I said, single 6 from Ruger came out in 53, and so that really put the pressure on Colt. So they brought out the big boys, you know, the Colts, there in, what, 55, 56, and then they came out with this in 57, and of course some of them have 2 cylinders, Magnum and regular long rifle, but everybody was happy to see Colt bring these back, of course, and especially this, because it was like the old Colt single action. A lot of the Rugers, they're well made. They're probably better made than Colt. Okay, Ruger's probably better made than Colt. I'll say that. Stronger, perhaps, and everything. Better sights. But the appeal for these is the fact they have the same old fixed sights. Maybe you can't do anything with them. But I don't know, just the lines, they were truly in the spirit of the Colt single action. And, you know, I mean, yeah, you can put big adjustable sights. You could put a red dot on one of these and shoot it better. But it was very appealing, and it is to me, to have the same configuration with terrible sights, right? And so it was very popular. And also, they were able to cut the price. I read that the single 6 sold for around $50. No, it sold for around 57 or 58, and this one sold for like $49 or $50. And so, you know, it sold pretty well because it beat the Ruger on price, and it was a Colt and all that kind of thing. But now the Ruger did very, very well, and still does. And of course, they discontinued this in 86. The single 6 is still cranking in all sorts of configurations. Part of that's just Colt, the company. You know, I mean, as I speak, you know, we've learned they've been bought by CZ and everything, and they've just struggled through a lot of their recent history. Maybe they'll get better, who knows. Now that they're owned by somebody else, let's shoot the paper. Put a couple on it, and then smoke a pot, maybe. See if I can hit the bullseye. Somewhere there. Let's try a little pot smoker with it. All right. And I think I have one left for that bowling pin. And right now, it should be empty. Yeah. Okay. So, and you've got these fine fake stag grips on here. Aren't those beautiful? Hey, what do you expect for $50? You know, 1968. You know, aluminum alloy. It was designed and made so that anybody, the average person, could buy one of these and have fun with it, right?